Good evening, this is RFC Maki. I wanted to share with you how I fly on the xBox 360 with the flight controller. So I'm going to go ahead and set up a test flight to show you how I do what I do and why I think it's important. In this video I'll be flying the Spitfire Mark 9. I have no idea what skin it's going to put on, but it's going to take us off here at the landing strip on Malta. The most important thing when flying simulator is, oh there we go, we've got the Italy skin. The most important thing when flying simulator is being able to look around and fly at the same time. The default xBox controls, if I remember right, require you to use the left trigger and the right stick in order to look around, but when you do that, you give up the ability to use the right stick to use your rudder and your throttle. So I am using a different set of controls. If I go to my controls here, I am using what's called the alternate control settings for the xBox 360. Those are found. Let's go to controls. I'm using the default controller. I'm using what's known as the xBox 360 controller in the alternate form. This is the one that I'm using. Now, what that does for me is it allows me to use my right stick for look around. So I have a whole series of controls here that I think are important. The most important which I'm using, it involves a recontrolling of how I do things. So my looking around, I guess I have to go back here. My look around is going to be controlled with the right stick in this alternate setting. I should go to the axis mapping here. Here we go. So in this alternate setting, my left stick controls my roll and my pitch. So it's exactly like a throttle in an airplane. The yaw would be controlled ordinarily by the foot pedals. I don't control that using the sticks. In fact, I use my right stick here to control my looking around. So my right stick controls my camera and also controls my gun aiming. All of these other axes I don't have set because I only have two sticks to control. If I go to the button mapping, let's go back. You'll see that I've got a number of controls that I can use with my right stick. So in this setting, my right stick is looking around and my left stick is used for controlling the pitch and the roll, which means I need a place for my throttle. I have for my throttle set the left button, the left trigger, and the right trigger. My left trigger slows me down, my right trigger speeds me up. I don't know if that's going to be obviously shown in here. I don't quite see it anywhere, but I use my left trigger and my right trigger to speed up and slow down my engine. For firing, then I have my machine guns and my cannons linked and both set to fire with the A button. B, I use the drop bomb button, but I don't ever drop bombs, and D-pad right for firing. For my zooming camera, it becomes important to be able to look around and zoom at the same time, so I press in the, on simplified, if I ever fly that, or realistic, I can press the D-pad left, but on sim version, I use pressing in, this one here, using the right stick and pressing the right stick in. Pressing the right stick in allows me to look around and be able to zoom in at the same time. And I think probably those are the most important things you need to know. I also have a couple buttons set for turning on and off my engines and remapping the buttons for the flaps. But let's see how this works in flight. The most important aspects here in flying sim are being able to use the right stick to look around and to be able to fly at the same time. Oh, I guess I should have mentioned I have my rudders set on my left button and my right button. I only use those on occasion, but here I'll use my right trigger to push the throttle forward. You can see on my RPMs over here that it's going to go up to 30, which is about the max. Use my right button for my yaw to help keep me on the runway to counterbalance the engine torque. My button for the flaps in the Spitfire are controlled by, this trigger here. That's in the down position, and when I put them back up again, that flips them in the up position. On the Spitfire, raised gear are indicated by the red light lit for up. I think it's important in simulation mode to be able to also know your controls for your dials for your airplane. So here we have the airspeed. I'm currently traveling at about 100. Oh goodness, I don't even know what this one is. Usually it's about 220 miles per hour. Here we go. I'm used to flying in the German planes, the Italian planes, which use kilometers per hour. But here we're flying at about 200, 220 miles per hour. This is a good combat speed. Down below to my stick to the left is the altimeter, and I am coming up on 2,000 feet. So the point of using being able to use the right stick for looking around is that I can put my plane in a right bank and keep an eye behind me. This is how I check my tail, check my six, and scan for enemies. I usually try to put myself in a slight right banked turn to be able to keep an eye out for enemies. Looking down, I can zooming in is a little bit awkward, but I can zoom in if I need to and see what I'm looking at. But the main trick for being able to fly well in simulator mode is to be able to pick a spot and keep staring at it as you turn. Keep your eye on that spot. This is the only way you're going to be able to track an enemy flying. I can look behind me and roll one way or the other, dive my nose down, pull up, and this becomes critical when following or tracking enemy planes. Even looking down as you roll over becomes important, than knowing right away your plane's going to be back, what your target is, you're going to be looking back behind you. In this same mode, you can actually, and I'm not very good at this at the moment, I use my pointing fingers to control my yaw. At the same time, I can use my middle fingers to speed up or slow down the throttle, allowing me access to just about everything at the same time. The only thing I don't do well is to be able to look around and fire my machine guns at the same time. But once you use this mode, you can never really go back. It's a very intuitive and simple way of looking around. In fact, it models what you do in most other video games, in that you use your left stick for moving and your right stick for looking around or changing your point of view. You do this in Assassin's Creed and any other sort of first-person shooter kind of game. It doesn't take very long to get used to flying like this, and like I said, once I even play in simplified mode or in realistic mode where the enemy planes are locked on, I never actually have to use that method in order to lock on. This seems to be the most appropriate way of doing it. So I encourage all of you who are looking to try out Simulator to go ahead and practice with this right stick look around, changing your controls to that alternate setting for the xBox. And best of luck to you, and I hope to see you in the skies. Cheers.